You ever wonder what your life would look like if you actually did what you said you were going to do? Not just once, not just for a week, but consistently day in and day out without the excuses, without the emotional drama, without waiting for the right mood to strike. Imagine that version of you. Visualize that version. Now ask yourself one honest question. Why aren't you living like that already? Let's tell the truth. You're not tired. You're not overwhelmed. You're not incapable. You're lazy, and not in a funny, casual way. You've been lying to yourself. You've been dressing your laziness up in fake productivity. You've been rewarding yourself for doing the bare minimum and calling it a win. You've been surviving off of little motivational highs and wondering why you're not getting anywhere. And you feel it, don't you? That pressure, that guilt, that quiet shame when the day ends and you didn't do half the things you said you would. You told yourself, I'll start tomorrow. And now it's been years of tomorrow. But here's what no one told you. Laziness is not just about doing nothing. It's about slowly watching your potential rot while you scroll, binge, snooze, and stall. It's choosing comfort over calling, distraction over direction. It's watching other people build empires while you stay stuck in a loop of someday. This isn't a motivational fairy tale. This is your wake-up call. Because deep down, you know you're made for more. You know your mind is sharper than the way you're using it. You know your body has more energy than you've been giving it credit for. You know your spirit is starving for purpose. And yet, you keep hitting the snooze button on your own greatness. So I'm not here to be gentle. I'm here to challenge everything that's been holding you back. And most of all, I'm here to challenge you. Because the truth is, if you don't kill your laziness will kill your future. Are you ready to get uncomfortable? Let's go. Let's stop sugarcoating the truth. Laziness is not some fixed flaw buried in your DNA. It's not a personality trait you inherited or a quirk you were born with. Laziness is a habit, a choice, a routine that you've repeated so many times it's become your default operating system. And the worst part, you chose it. You may not want to admit that. In fact, your brain is probably trying to come up with 100 reasons right now to defend your behavior. I'm just mentally exhausted, you say. I'm not lazy, I'm just overwhelmed. Sure, but let's ask something deeper. What are you overwhelmed by? Are you really tired, or are you simply drained from avoiding what you should be doing? Because avoiding the work is often more exhausting than doing it. See, people love to use the word lazy, like it's a flaw etched in stone. I've always been this way. No, you haven't. You became this way. You trained yourself, whether consciously or not, to default to the easy way out. You made a pattern out of avoidance. You conditioned yourself to escape discomfort by choosing inaction. And the more you repeated that pattern, the stronger the habit became. That's what habits are. Neural pathways in the brain that get stronger with use. The more you pick your phone up first thing in the morning instead of getting out of bed, the stronger that lazy impulse gets. The more you delay the workout, the harder it becomes to show up. The more you skip reading, writing, planning, building, moving, whatever it is you should be doing, the more your brain starts to see laziness as normal, as safe, as routine. And routines are powerful. They dictate your entire life. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So if laziness is your system, guess what? Your results are going to look like. Let's get even more real. Every time you procrastinate, every time you push something important to later, every time you make the decision to choose comfort instead of discipline, you're reinforcing that pattern. You're telling your brain, this is how we handle responsibility. And your brain listens. It adapts. It makes that your new standard. So the next time you try to do something hard, you immediately feel resistance, not because the task is impossible, but because your brain is used to quitting. You've trained yourself to expect rewards without effort. You've conditioned your mind to crave the dopamine hit without doing anything to earn it. That's why social media, binge watching, and endless scrolling feel so addictive. They give you the illusion of satisfaction without the actual work. But the satisfaction doesn't last, does it? Because deep down, you know it's empty. It doesn't build anything. It doesn't move you forward. It just numbs you. And every time you numb yourself, you step further away from the person you could be. And here's the harsh truth that a lot of people won't tell you. Being lazy is not a neutral state. It's destructive. It erodes your potential. It eats away at your self-respect. It makes you question your worth. The more you sit in it, the more you start to believe that maybe you aren't capable, that maybe success is for other people, that maybe your dreams were too big, and that's a lie you tell yourself to avoid feeling guilty about doing nothing. But guilt isn't the enemy here. Guilt is the signal. Guilt is your inner voice telling you that you were meant for more than just getting by. It's your conscience tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, wake up, you're wasting something precious. Your time, your gifts, your life. Now, some people will argue, well, what if I'm depressed? What if I have mental health issues? Listen carefully, mental health is real, it's serious, and it absolutely affects energy and behavior. But even then, there's a difference between being unable and being unwilling. If you can get up and scroll through your phone, if you can binge watch an entire season of a show, if you can text and chat and joke, then you have some energy, you have some capacity. The question is, are you using it to heal, grow, and build? Or are you using it to distract and delay? Because even healing requires effort. Even recovery demands movement. And at some point, you have to stop hiding behind your pain and start pushing through it. Not all at once, not perfectly, but deliberately, step by step. Here's the liberating part of all this. If laziness is a habit, that means it's reversible. You don't need to change your identity. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to interrupt the pattern over and over again. You need to make a different choice, even if it's small, every single day. Choose to get up when your body says no. Choose to write one sentence when your brain screams for distraction. Choose to do the work, even when it's boring, even when it's slow, even when it's not fun. Because that's how discipline is born, not in grand gestures, but in consistent, repeated action. You kill laziness by starving it, by refusing to feed it with your attention, by refusing to let it hijack your potential. You are not broken. You're not lazy by nature. You've just let comfort run the show for too long. And now it's time to take the power back, to build a new habit, to train a new pattern, to prove to yourself every single day that you're in control, not your impulses, not your moods, you. And when you do that, when you build the habit of showing up even when you don't feel like it, you'll find something incredible on the other side. Confidence, momentum, self-respect, and the deep, unshakable pride that comes from knowing you kept a promise to yourself. That's the reward, that's the life. But first, you've got to kill your laziness before it kills your future. It's easy to point fingers, to look outside ourselves and say, they didn't support me, or I never had the right environment, or I just didn't have the time. We blame our upbringing, we blame our job, we blame the noise of the world, our relationships, our mental state, even the weather, anything but ourselves. Because if we're not the problem, then we don't have to take responsibility. We can stay in our comfort zone and let the weight of our potential crush us slowly. But here's the raw, unfiltered truth you need to hear. You are the problem. Yes, you. It's not your boss. It's not your friends. It's not your lack of followers, your past, or your financial situation. The biggest obstacle standing between you and the life you say you want is you. And that may sting to hear. It should. Because real growth begins where denial ends. You have to look yourself in the mirror, not with guilt, not with shame, but with brutal honesty and say, I'm the reason I'm not further ahead. But here's the empowering part of that truth. If you are the problem, then you are also the solution. You are the author. You're holding the pen. And every day you wake up, you have the power to write a different ending to the same story you keep repeating. But as long as you keep playing the victim, as long as you keep externalizing your failures and waiting for the perfect conditions to start, you will stay stuck. You have to stop outsourcing your power. It's easy to say, I'm unmotivated because no one supports me. But are you even showing up for yourself? It's easy to say, I didn't grow up with good role models. Okay, but now you're grown. Are you still living by someone else's broken standard, or are you ready to set your own? It's easy to say they distracted me, but distractions don't walk into your life uninvited. You open the door. You let them in. You chose scrolling over showing up. You chose talking over doing. You chose excuses over execution. The question isn't whether life is hard. Of course it's hard. The question is, what are you doing with the part you can control? You know what discipline looks like. You know what sacrifice looks like. You've seen people transform their lives, and something deep inside you knows you're capable of it too. But the difference between those who rise and those who remain is not luck, it's self-accountability. The winners take full responsibility even when it's painful, especially when it's painful. They don't wait for things to get easier. They become stronger. You don't need anyone to hand you the perfect plan. You don't need a motivational quote to get moving. You don't need permission. You need to decide that you are tired of your own excuses. That's when things shift. Let's call it what it is. Your laziness, your delay, your procrastination, it's not about time, energy, or circumstance. It's about avoidance. You've been avoiding your own potential because it's scary. It means stepping into responsibility. It means failing. It means shedding the identity that people have gotten comfortable seeing you in. But growth never comes without discomfort. You've been waiting to feel ready, but no one feels ready when it's time to level up. Readiness is a myth. Progress doesn't wait for you to feel good. And most days, you won't. You'll feel tired. You'll feel anxious. You'll feel like quitting. But if you can keep going through those feelings, not around them, not under them, but through them, that's when the shift begins. You don't kill laziness by wishing for energy. You kill laziness by acting like the person you want to become. If you want to be disciplined, act like someone who is. If you want to be respected, carry yourself like someone worthy of respect. If you want results, do the work whether you feel like it or not. You don't need to fix everything today, but you do need to own everything. The moment you say, "It's on me," everything becomes possible. You stop waiting for inspiration and you become the force that creates it. You stop waiting for motivation and you develop self-mastery. You stop blaming people for your lack of progress, and you begin building a life no one can take credit for except you. That's real power, not pretending you're perfect, not hiding from your flaws, but facing them head on, knowing that you can rewrite your patterns. You can wake up earlier. You can show up for the hard things. You can stop lying to yourself. You can decide right now that who you've been is not who you're going to stay. The past is a lesson, not a life sentence. So let's get rid of the noise. Let's get rid of the endless overthinking, the self-doubt, the waiting. You've waited long enough. The only one left to believe in you is you. And honestly, that's all you ever needed. You don't need 100 people cheering for you. You need one person, you, to take yourself seriously enough to stop wasting time, to stop settling, to stop playing small. You're not weak, you're just undisciplined. And the beautiful thing about discipline, it can be trained, built, forged through repetition. There is no magic coming to save you. No miracle. Just you, your hands, your brain, your breath, your decisions. So be the solution. Stop being the obstacle. Step up, show up every single day, because your future isn't in the hands of anyone else, it's in yours. And that truth, that's the most freeing thing in the world. Most people spend their entire lives looking outward for answers. They ask, why isn't life working for me? Why don't I have what they have? Why does everything feel so hard? They search for signs, shortcuts, secrets, blaming the world, their past, their parents, the system, anything to avoid the one place they're too afraid to look, the mirror. Because deep down, we all know the truth. The reason we're stuck, the reason we're not where we want to be, the reason we haven't become who we were meant to become is us. You are the problem. Now that might feel harsh. It might even sting, but it's supposed to. Because that discomfort you feel right now, that's the beginning of your freedom. When you accept that you are the problem, something powerful happens. You realize you don't have to wait anymore. You don't have to beg for opportunity. You don't need someone to come and change your circumstances. Because if you are the problem, then you are also the solution. The most dangerous lie you've been telling yourself is that your situation is someone else's fault, that it's the world's job to make you feel ready, that things will change when everything around you changes. But the reality is, the moment you stop blaming the world is the moment you take back your power. Your situation might not be your fault, but your response to it, that's always been your responsibility. Every day you make choices, whether you're aware of it or not, your life is a reflection of those choices. You choose to hit snooze, you choose to scroll instead of study, you choose to gossip instead of grow, you choose to binge instead of build, and every time you do, you strengthen the belief that comfort is more important than change, that safety matters more than purpose, that you're okay with being average even when you know you were made for more. You can't keep waiting for motivation to hit like lightning. You've already tried that. It's unreliable, fleeting, one bad mood, one bad day, and you're off track for a week. That's not how transformation works. It starts with one decision to take control of your life, without excuses, without waiting, without needing a rescue. You don't need perfect conditions, you need personal accountability. You don't need a new routine, you need a new mindset, one that stops asking, why is this happening to me? And starts asking, what can I do about it? That shift changes everything. People think power is about control over others, over outcomes. It's not. Real power is control over yourself, over your impulses, your distractions, your laziness, your fear. It's saying no when every part of you wants to say yes to the easy way out. It's showing up on the days when you feel uninspired. It's doing the work even when no one's watching, no one's clapping, and no one's rewarding you. Because here's what no one talks about. Most of your growth will happen in silence, in the moments when you're tired, when you're doubting, when you're tempted to give up, but you don't. That's where the shift begins. Not in some grand revelation, but in small, unglamorous decisions that you make every single day. You are the pattern, you are the excuse, you are the habit you've refused to break, but you are also the person with the power to change it all. You don't need to be a different person, you just need to start making different decisions. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Yes, it will be lonely sometimes. Change always is. Because when you stop being a victim, you stop fitting in with the crowd that needs someone else to blame. You start moving differently, you talk differently. You make decisions from your future, not your feelings. And that will make people uncomfortable. Let them be. You're not doing this for applause. You're doing this because your future self deserves it. Let's get real. No one's coming to save you. No one is going to hand you discipline. No one is going to push you out of bed. No one is going to build the dream for you. And no one should, because the moment someone else builds it, they can take it away. But when you build it, brick by brick, choice by choice, it becomes unshakable. It becomes yours. You keep waiting for someone to show up and believe in you. But what if that person is you? What if all along, the only thing missing was your own belief in yourself? Not the kind that's loud and motivational, but the quiet kind, the kind that wakes you up at 5 a.m., the kind that turns off the phone and gets to work, the kind that says, no matter how long it takes, I'm going to become the person I was meant to be. You don't need more time. You don't need more luck. You don't need more support. You need to get out of your own way. You need to stop negotiating with your weakness. You need to stop giving your laziness a voice and your excuses a platform. You need to decide once and for all that you're not going to die full of potential you were too afraid to use. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. You don't have to do everything. You just need to do something. Today, now, because momentum doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from movement. You are the problem, but that's the best news you'll hear all day. Because if you created this mess, then you can clean it up. If you've been stuck, you can get unstuck. If you've been drifting, you can realign. All it takes is one decision, to stop being the person who watches life happen and become the person who makes it happen. You're the only one who can, and deep down you've always known that. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when things are exciting, when they're new, when there's energy in the air, and everything feels possible. But the moment things get tough, the moment discomfort steps in, motivation disappears like it was never there. And that's the problem. You've been taught to chase motivation, to wait for that spark before you move. You've built your habits around a feeling that isn't built to last. That's why you start strong and then fall off. That's why your progress is inconsistent. That's why you feel like you're always beginning again. Because motivation is emotion-based. It's reactive. It depends on how you feel, what's around you, what the weather is like, what your energy is doing, and that makes it unreliable. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't need perfect conditions. It doesn't ask for your mood. It shows up because it's trained to show up. It's rooted in commitment, not convenience. If you only act when you're motivated, your progress will always be unstable. You'll show up when it's easy, when it's exciting, when it feels good, but what about the days when it doesn't? What about the mornings when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're uninspired? That's when most people quit. Not because they're incapable, but because they were relying on a feeling to fuel their future. Feelings are fragile. They change with your environment. But discipline, that's internal. It's built from the ground up. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It's not sexy. But it's powerful. It gets the job done long after motivation has walked out the door. Discipline says, I don't care if I'm tired, I'm still going. Discipline says, I made a promise and I'm going to keep it. Discipline is what builds champions, not talent, not hype, not excitement. Discipline, the small, repeated, often boring actions done consistently over time. Motivation gets you to the gym on day 1. Discipline gets you there on day 100. Motivation helps you open the book. Discipline makes sure you finish it. Motivation starts the race. Discipline finishes it. It's the backbone of every great achievement. People say, I just need to get motivated. No, you don't. You need to get serious. You need to get structured. You need to build systems that don't fall apart when you don't feel like showing up. Because here's the truth. You're not always going to feel like it. In fact, most days you won't, but that's irrelevant. Discipline doesn't wait for permission. It acts. Think about the most successful people you admire. Do you really think they're hyped every single morning, that they wake up inspired every day? Absolutely not. They've simply trained themselves to do what needs to be done, regardless of how they feel. They don't negotiate with excuses. They don't need a reason. The action is the reason. And that's what separates them from everyone else. You've been taught that discipline is punishment, that it's restrictive, that it takes the joy out of life, but that's not true. Real discipline is freedom. It gives you power over your impulses. It gives you control over your time. It allows you to walk into any room knowing that you did the work, that you showed up when others didn't, that you didn't fold when it got hard. And that kind of self-respect, that kind of inner strength, that's not something you can fake. You earn it. You earn it when you get up at 5 a.m. because you said you would. You earn it when you finish what you started, even when it's hard. You earn it when you stop chasing mood and start chasing mastery. The best version of you isn't waiting on motivation. They're waiting on action. They're waiting on the disciplined version of you to take the reins. Because let's be honest, how much time have you already wasted waiting to feel ready? How many times have you delayed your dreams because you weren't in the mood? And where has that gotten you? This isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. You don't have to do everything right. You just have to show up over and over again. And when you fail, and you will, you don't quit. You adjust. You realign. And then you keep going. That's discipline. It's not about never falling. It's about never staying down. Discipline is built like a muscle. You don't start strong. You build strength by pushing through resistance day by day, choice by choice. Every time you do the thing you didn't feel like doing, you reinforce that identity. You prove to yourself, I'm someone who follows through. And that identity, once it's locked in, becomes your foundation. Eventually, it's no longer a struggle. It becomes second nature. Your default isn't avoidance, it's action. Your habits become automatic. And that's when the magic happens. That's when you become dangerous. Not because you're relying on motivation, but because you're showing up regardless of it. You're not going to wake up one day with endless energy. You're not going to be rescued by some burst of inspiration. You're going to have to grind. You're going to have to push yourself. You're going to have to show up tired, bored, frustrated, uncertain, and do it anyway. That's what builds grit. That's what separates dreamers from doers. Talk is cheap. Plans are easy. Execution is what counts. And execution belongs to the disciplined. So stop chasing motivation. Stop waiting for the mood to strike. Kill the habit of delay. Replace it with decisions. Train your mind to act. Every time you override the voice that says, "Not today," you become stronger. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, you sharpen your edge. Discipline is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. With ruthless consistency, that's what creates transformation, not wishful thinking, not emotional highs, not motivation, discipline. And the moment you choose discipline over distraction, over delay, over doubt, that's the moment everything begins to change. Not just what you do, who you are, who you become. So stop waiting. Build the discipline, build the life, no more excuses, just action. You owe it to yourself to wake up, not just in the literal sense of getting out of bed, but in the deeper soul level sense of becoming fully alive, fully aware, and fully responsible for your life. Because whether you realize it or not, you've been sleeping, numbing, distracting, coasting through days, checking boxes, going through the motions. But your life was never meant to be a loop of survival. It was meant to be lived with purpose, with passion, with urgency. You owe it to yourself to wake up from the excuses, the ones you keep replaying like a broken record. "I'm not ready. I don't have time. It's too hard." Those lines have become your lullabies, comfortable lies that let you off the hook. But here's the thing. Comfort never changed anyone. Comfort never built anything worth having. The longer you stay asleep in your excuses, the more you miss out on the power that's already inside you, untapped, untested, and unused. You owe it to yourself to wake up from the noise. The endless scrolling, the cheap dopamine, the mental clutter that keeps you distracted from your purpose. You say you don't have time to chase your dreams, but you spend hours numbing yourself from a life you secretly hate. You say you're too tired, but somehow you find the energy to binge shows, argue online, and scroll through highlight reels of people actually doing the work. The truth, you're not tired, you're out of alignment. Because when you're aligned with something bigger than your comfort, something bigger than your fears, you find the energy, you create the time, you stop settling for the path of least resistance, and you start forging your own. That fire you feel when you imagine your ideal life, that's not fantasy, that's your inner compass begging you to wake up and pay attention. You owe it to yourself to stop hiding. You've been playing small, minimizing your voice, shrinking your dreams, because it's safer that way. Because you think failure is the worst case scenario. But the real tragedy isn't failing, it's never trying. It's silencing your ambition just to keep the peace. It's dying with your potential still locked inside you. Every day you spend asleep to your own greatness, you rob the world and yourself of what you could have been. Stop thinking someone is coming to push you. No one is coming. That realization should light a fire under you, not depress you, because that means it's all in your hands. Your future isn't waiting on luck or timing or someone else's approval. It's waiting on you to rise, to act, to show up like your life depends on it, because it does. You owe it to yourself to stop waiting for the right time. That mythical window where everything will be perfect and all the stars will align. That time doesn't exist. Life doesn't pause until you feel ready. You will never have all the information, all the money, all the clarity, or all the confidence. You build those things by moving, by trying, by failing, by learning. If you keep waiting, all you'll end up with is regret. You owe it to yourself to confront your own potential. That's a heavy truth most people run from. Because stepping into your power means letting go of your old self. The lazy version, the scared version, the comfort-addicted version. And that version of you, they're not going to go quietly. They're going to fight. They're going to whisper lies like you're not good enough or you'll fail again or why bother. But your job is to rise anyway, to prove that version of yourself wrong. Not with words, but with action. You owe it to yourself to stop outsourcing your worth, to stop waiting for someone to validate you, to recognize your talent, to say, now you're ready. No one is going to hand you permission. You have to take it. You have to crown yourself. You have to look at the life you want and decide that you're done playing by small rules and safe choices. The world won't clap for you at the beginning. That's okay. Clap for yourself. Cheer for yourself. Get so good they have no choice but to notice. You owe it to yourself to protect your focus, to stop giving your energy to people and things that drain you. Every yes you say to distraction is a no to your purpose. Every time you water someone else's garden while your own is dying, you fall deeper into bitterness. The time you're wasting now is the very time you're going to wish you had back later. Be wise with it. Be ruthless with it. Not because you're cold, but because you finally understand your value. You owe it to yourself to live a life that feels like you. Not the life your parents wanted, not the one your peers expect, not the one you've settled for out of fear, but the life that aligns with your soul. That version of life requires courage. It requires action. It requires waking up every day and making choices that stretch you. Because growth never happens in sleep mode. You have to disrupt your patterns. You have to challenge your limits. You have to shock your system out of autopilot and into action. This life isn't a rehearsal. You don't get to rewind it. Every day you waste asleep to your greatness is a day you'll never get back. So stop saying someday. Start saying now. Wake up to your responsibility. Wake up to your possibility. Wake up to your gift, your grit, your capacity to transform your entire life with the decisions you make today. You owe it to yourself, no one else, because at the end of the day, it's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you are more than your laziness, more than your excuses, more than your delay. You are capable. You are powerful. You are ready, even if you don't feel like it. Now wake up and go become who you were, always meant to be. Laziness is not your identity. It's a habit, a pattern, a choice you've repeated so many times it feels like truth, but it's not. The real truth is this. You were not born to live a mediocre, half-awake life. You were not put here just to survive, delay, and settle. You were built for more discipline, more power, more purpose. But that version of you isn't going to magically appear. You have to fight for it. You have to wake up every single day and kill the old version of you. The one that makes excuses, the one that avoids the work, the one that lives in fear of discomfort. Your dreams don't need more motivation. They need you, fully present, fully engaged, ruthlessly disciplined, and unapologetically committed. There will be no perfect moment, no magical push, no cheering crowd, just you and the decision you make right now. So stop waiting, stop sleeping, stop blaming. Kill your laziness before it kills the life you were meant to live. Because at the end of the day, no one can save you from yourself except you.